Okay, thanks again for joining us for today's ECAP Coach webinar. Kelly, go ahead and take it away.
Welcome, everyone. This is our second webinar for the 2016-17 school year. Before we get started, just want to remind everyone of a few housekeeping items. If you are using your computer microphone and speakers, please be sure to mute your microphone. We want everyone to be able to hear who is presenting on our webinar today. As we move through the material, please type your questions into the question box. We will pause periodically to respond to any questions. And if we don't get to all of your questions today, we will follow up at a later date. Today we have extra pre-K specialists with us, joining us today to share some great information around numeracy and teaching strategies gold. So let's start with introductions. This is Kelly DeBoer, and I'm a pre-K specialist.
And this is Sue Rhodes, pre-K specialist.
And I'm Tracy Kenny, a pre-K specialist as well.
And Julie Flores, pre-K specialist.
Thanks, everyone. Today we're going to revisit the numeracy prompts that we reviewed and talked about briefly last month. We're going to report back on the questions added to the prompts from the November webinar. You will see in the handout section of the webinar today there are several handouts. One of them is detailed information about those numeracy prompts, and we have some additional handouts around Teaching Strategies Gold. We're going to look at ways to use Teaching Strategies Gold, sum up research on mathematics, navigate resources, look at some coaching strategies, and then we're going to go into some coach conversations and respond to questions.
Okay, so this is Sue Rhodes, and so you may be, I talked about this last month. I'm going to talk about it briefly today. The focus on numeracy. Why is the Department of Early Learning focusing on numeracy? And this is our, we have a goal here at the Department of Early Learning to ensure that at least 90% of all children are ready for kindergarten. And ready for kindergarten means 6 out of 6 of the domains are met. And so just being able to look at this box, it's a predictive box based on data and information, so we can make predictions based on what we know. And so in the so you can see that math across all income levels. You can see at the very top that there are income levels, and and math is low in all income brackets. And the one on the far right is where many of our children in ECAP are. And but really, by focusing on numeracy and math, we can really get that percentage rate up. So we'll be sure to cover this box on our future webinars, and we can talk about it in more depth maybe next month. Okay.
Hi, everyone. It's Tracy. We had also talked last month about how we were going to come back to these prompts. And on today's webinar, we have a handout for you. So if you could, if you would like to, open the numeracy prompts handout, the PDF. It is pre-filled with some questions. Oh, there it is. Okay, so underneath the prompts are some questions that researchers have decided needed to be asked. And what I had asked you to do or to think about are some questions that were specific to your situation, your programs that you work with, and to add those in and to use this these questions or these prompts as a guiding document, as a guiding document for the rest of our year as we explore numeracy. And, you know, we're not going to ask all these questions. I don't want you to be overwhelmed, like, no, I don't have this yet, no, I don't have this yet, or, you know, just really pull one out that really speaks to you and focus on that. And maybe there's some things you hadn't thought of before. And so what I love about these webinars that I've been doing now with Sue and Kelly is that this is such a great place to have a conversation and to share your experiences and to share your tips, that I think this is something that we could really talk about the more that we get to know it. So I wasn't sure if anybody would like to share out some of your questions that you thought of. I know it's only been a couple of weeks. Our last one had been rescheduled. But did anybody think of a numeracy prompt question that would go under one of these categories that we missed? Because I would love to add them.
Yeah, and if you want to raise your hand, I can work to unmute you.
Or you can type it in.
Okay.
If your voice sounds like Sue's and you don't want to talk. And what I can do is, as you guys think about them or throughout the webinar, if you just want to type it in, I will add it to the document and keep updating it. So I'll give you some time to do that. Thanks, guys.
Kelly, I think you can take Learning Pathways document.
Yes, let me pull this up. So last month we briefly went over the Learning Pathways in Numeracy document that OSPI has created. And this document, if you remember, it shows the Washington State Department of Early Learning Development Guidelines, the Teaching Strategies Gold domains, and the WaKids information. And so this document, you can see the different areas of development at each age, the different skills that are developing in counting and subitizing, comparing and ordering, and how it relates to the GOLD. And specifically today, we're going to look at this from the Teaching Strategies GOLD perspective and hear more about the math objectives and domains on this. So this is a resource that's available for folks. We will be referring to this each month, and we want you to have a look and keep going with that. So on that note, we're going to move forward and dig in with Julie Flores. Let me get back to our, there we go. So Julie is a pre-K specialist with our Department of Early Learning ECAP office, and she's going to talk to us today about Teaching Strategies Gold. So take it away, Julie.
Okay, next slide. Hi, everyone. As we know that Teaching Strategies highlights research and background for mathematics and TS Gold, and this research aligns to the content that Tracy had shared in the last month's ECAP Coach webinar and supports the rationale to focus on numeracy. We know that children slowly construct an informal mathematical knowledge beginning in the first few months of life, and first-hand exploration is important for learning mathematics as children begin to use their everyday experiences to construct a variety of fundamental mathematical concepts and strategies. The knowledge children acquire informally provides a foundation for concepts and skills that they learn formally in school, and through those essential process skills of problem solving, reasoning, communicating, making connections, and representing, children learn mathematics content. Research has made a clear link between early math skills and later school reading and math achievement. An analysis of 6 longitudinal studies showed that early math skills have the greatest predictive power, followed by reading and then attention skills. Children's knowledge at kindergarten entry is considered predictive of future mathematics success throughout their years in school, and evidence shows that high-quality early childhood programs can make a difference in children's mathematical learning. Regardless of their social class, culture, or disability, most children develop those mathematical skills over time. However, there are gaps in some children's informal knowledge that makes it difficult for them to understand school mathematics. Language plays a central role in teaching and learning mathematics. For a child with a disability, the environment or materials may need to be adapted, routines adjusted, or an activity modified. The role teachers play is really is huge because it determines what special supports a child needs to participate fully. Again, adults play a significant role in helping children learn those mathematical vocabulary, concepts, and process skills. If children are to develop the knowledge needed for later formal learning, they need frequent practice with those materials and play settings and adult-guided activities that include meaningful discussions and applications. And if you're interested in exploring this research, you can do a keyword search in the Help Library in Gold, focusing on the research and background for mathematics, and you will find the full context of those research articles and references. All right, Kelly, take it to the next slide. So we'll look at specifically the gold objectives for development and learning for mathematics. And because adults play such a significant role in helping children learn math concepts, Teaching Strategies has established these 4 math objectives that can be put into practice throughout the day. So when you look at use number concepts and operations, this objective focuses on counting, number symbols, and number operations. So children put these concepts into practice when they separate and combine objects, count by twos, or match a written numeral to a quantity. And then the teacher adds to that experience by what they share. So for example, yes, there are 2 shovels, one for you and one for your brother. Or look at the dice to find out how many spaces you should move on the board. As you look at the objectives, explores and describes spatial relationships and shapes. Children are understanding those spatial relationships and shapes through the foundation of really learning more about geometry. So what does that mean? That's how objects are orientated in relation to one another. It develops as children explore the relationship between their bodies and the things around them. So different comments that teachers can share as they are focusing on that, and that you may hear as you're going into the classroom and supporting teachers is, can you find the circle piece that will fit here in the puzzle? Or the map you made shows us where to find each of the playground, area of the playground. I see the sandbox is next to the storage bin where we keep the scoops and buckets. The compares and measures objectives is about making comparisons between objects and using measuring tools to help learn about attributes such as height, length, and weight. So conversations you may hear in the classroom may include, you choose a big ball and a little ball. Can you roll the big ball to me? Or, I see you using the ruler to measure your shoes. Do you want to measure my shoes next? And then the objective area for demonstrate knowledge of pattern. This objective relates to learning how to recognize and identify patterns. As children become more familiar with these concepts, they begin to understand how to repeat patterns and anticipate what comes next. Conversations could include, you heard the cleanup song, so you are putting the crayons back in the basket. Or the pattern you made looks like stars. It looks like stairs, excuse me. 1 block, 2 blocks, 3 blocks, 4 blocks. And again, as you come into the classroom and work with teachers, those are some examples of the conversations that you can hear teachers talk about, or that you can help inspire as they're setting up those experiences that relate to those objectives. Next slide. And Kelly.
So we have a poll that Sue is going to launch. Think about the teachers you work with and the recent completion of the fall checkpoint data, specifically the assessment ratings for the mathematics objectives. How comfortable do you think these teachers are in assessing the mathematics objectives for development and learning? Kind of iffy, like not real comfortable, okie dokie, somewhat comfortable, or easy cheesy, very comfortable?
And Julie, thanks for coming up with a kind of nifty way to do a poll.
A little whimsical way on a Friday, right?
We can all use a little whimsy once in a while.
Yeah.
Okay, so I am, I'm going to go ahead and close the poll, and I'm going to share it. Looks like I was going to try and do some math and say like 3/4 of you are okie dokie, but it said 71%, and so that's great. And I think we have another poll to do.
Yes, there's one more. So choose one word to describe how comfortable you are in sharing the resources, reports, and tools in GOLD with teachers. So are you a novice? You're beginning to explore this area. You're intermediate. You're familiar with some aspects. You're advanced, can access and analyze information with ease, or superior. You're able to share data and resources with teachers, parents, and stakeholders. I can't see the results.
Oh,
Sorry.
Oh, that is too bad. I will talk about it then. So it looks like about 44%. No, that's totally my fault. I don't know why, but 44% are intermediate and familiar with some aspects. 31% are advanced. 16% are superior and can easily share data and resources with others. And we do have 9% beginning to explore, so it's pretty spread across all of those. So thanks so much for participating, and thanks for helping come up with this poll, Julie. I'm gonna hide it now.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, thanks, ladies.
Okay.
All right, so let's take a peek at the TS GOLD resources that are available. One of them is a Teacher Quick Start Guide. This is available in the resources on the webinar that you can download. You can also guide a teacher to go to the help library to select and download this guide. This guide was created to support your teachers in use of Teaching Strategies GOLD Online. It offers detailed screen-by-screen guidance for using the tool effectively, from logging in, setting up their classes, to finalizing data and generating reports. And it provides specific screenshots that you can see with the step-by-step guides. And so it's a really handy tool. And if you're familiar with this resource, go ahead and give a thumbs up, or just let us know in the chat box if this is something that you have used. And also, I just want to say that we'll refer to this guide and ways that you can use this with teachers to help them access the reports that we'll be talking about in the upcoming slides of today's webinar. All right, so let's look at those resources available. Kelly, go ahead and so here's a screenshot of how to access this guide in GOLD for those that are, exploring GOLD and getting into that more. Again, you would go into the upper right of the screen of whether you're in the administrator site or in the teacher site, to that help icon. And it always has that little blue question mark. So, and then as you open that up, you would be able to scroll down to select the guide, and you'll see that highlighted on the screen. And then you could save or print this guide. So that is just a quick steps on how to locate and guide a teacher in accessing that guide as well. All right. So the next slide. So the documentation by objective and dimension report. This is a report that gives a quick look at how many documentation items are entered for each objective and dimension. It also tells which children or objectives and dimensions have not yet entered documentation, and this information will aid teachers and yourselves as coaches in really looking at the trends and gathering the data necessary for determining children's checkpoint levels. The documentation by objective and dimension report is on page 27 of the Teacher's Quick Start Guide. So this is a screenshot of the first section of of this report, and you can see as you look at that it gives a reflection of documentation count. Now, if I was to look at this is just a sampling of 4 children, and if this was the end of fall for this year, then I would look at this and wonder and say, for Natasha and Nezzy, it's showing that there is 0 documentation for mathematics, which would lead to an opportunity to really have a follow-up discussions with teachers about that. We'll talk about some of those coaching strategies in the next slide, okay? So as you look at this report with the teachers, the first thing to note is that you can access this report in the teacher site, in the documentation tab in gold. Discuss the information in the report and look for trends for the mathematics area of development and learning. Ask, are there children who have more documentation than others, and why? Does an area of mathematics have more or less documentation than others? And why? And again, you're in that sort of investigative mode because you're really letting the teacher own the data, but then also being inquisitive to ask a little more questions to figure out how those trends have developed. And while this report quantifies the number of documentation, the quality of documentation is more important than the quantity. So it's not in a number game that you want to get into, but it is a first place to look as you take a deeper dive into data. And here are a few more strategies to consider after you've looked at this report. Spend some time with the teacher and go back to the previous slide if you don't mind.
Sorry.
Thank you. No, that's all right. Thank you. Spot check the online portfolios to see that the documentation is entered to support a teacher's rating in mathematics. And the strategies that I shared today about mathematics could be applied to any other domain areas as well. And then review children's online documentation together. Discuss any documentation for objectives 20 through 23. And then and look at the status of those documentations. Are they factual and are they objective? And or is there opportunities to revise those that documentation? Okay, next slide. So here's another resource to help you identify data trends and have discussions with teachers. This is the class profile report. It shows the widely held expectations for each objective and dimension for your selected gold age or class grade, and it indicates which children are below, meeting, or exceeding those widely held expectations at a given checkpoint. And this report, the guidance to create this report and access it is on page 59 of the Teacher's Quick Start Guide. Next slide, please. And so as you look at those coaching strategies and you're looking at that specific class profile report, it's helped, you know, with the teacher, look again at where the trends are for those children. You know, what knowledge, skills, and behaviors are either exceeding or below those widely held expectations for the various objectives. Again, focusing on those ODLs, which we call objectives for development and learning for 20 to 23. You can discuss strategies the teacher could use to meet the individual needs of these children. Discuss how to use this report in planning and responding to children in small group experiences. It's like a launch pad. Think of the class profile report as a launching pad, because you can really start your discussions about ways to individualize, and then that starts that scaffolding of experiences that a teacher has with children in the classroom. All right, so let's go to the next one and dig into more specific tools that you can use that are available in teaching strategies. One is the on-the-spot recording tool. You'll see this referenced on page 25 of the Teacher Quick Start Guide. This tool is useful for quickly gathering information about the objectives. It does allow for collection of data for physical development, literacy, and mathematics. And so you can spend time showing the teacher how to use this tool to record observations during an activity. Another tool that's available is the assessment opportunity cards. You'll see in the resource section of the handouts, there's 3 of these activities that relate to specifically to the math objectives, and also you get a big bang for your buck because there's additional objectives that you're able to assess children on in addition to those math. And so those activities are the Shazam, the numeracy, they're the number please, and the counting collectibles. And with those, you can really, you can model an activity with the teacher on how to use those, look at lesson planning opportunities to implement that throughout the day, to find opportunities to really support that activities for mathematics. The other tool that you have for those teachers that have access to technology is the Teaching Strategies Gold Documentation app. And to find out more information about this app, you can go to the Help library and scroll down to select this topic to find an FAQ, common questions asked, and a step-by-step directions for using this app. And then as a coach, you can actually, if you have this technology available, you can demonstrate how to use this app with teachers to support them in collecting documentation to support mathematics and or other objective areas. And another tool just to be mindful of, and it can really help as you look at those numerous, as you look at the resources and really trying to cultivate those numeracy prompts and to providing more activities for teachers, is looking at the activities library. So with that, you can search by specific objective, dimension, and also keyword or color band. And so as you're looking for activities related, to objectives 20 through 23, you can find a specific example. Like, for example, I did a quick look and searched, and there's like D is for door, or all about our day, animals on the bus, bingo, balance act, breakfast time, and bright night drawings. Those are just a few examples of some activities that a teacher can search for that relate to the mathematic objectives and that really hone in on opportunities to include those in the lesson planning, whether you use a lesson plan online on Gold or you get the activities and apply them to maybe a separate lesson plan that you have that you use elsewhere. And so for teachers that are refining their skills, many times, and when we were taking the poll, I noticed that there's different skills and comfortability of teachers and also coaches. And so as you're working with your teachers, you may have a teacher that's very refined in their skill of Gold. You could ask them to support and really explore a variety of different things. One thing that you could do is you can invite a teacher to generate a snapshot report and lead a group discussion to analyze the group data, and you can focus and highlight, on the area of mathematics. And you can also ask the teacher to demonstrate to others on how to use and navigate through Gold. And encourage the teacher to share tips or processes for streamlining the assessment process as they use those strategies. All right, so next slide. So we've gone through.
Hey, sorry, go ahead, Julie. It's just you, Rose. This is perfect timing because we had a question come in, so sorry, go ahead.
Okay, yeah, so I was just going to say we've gone through very quickly, some TS Gold resources and some coaching strategies, so I wanted to give the opportunity for the coaches to just ask any questions or, and so I can provide answers and support.
Okay, so we did have a question or a comment come in, and it's from Elizabeth Snyder and to her team. So she's just commenting that this seems a little bit more like monitoring rather than coaching. And they are just curious about the fact that they understand that our webinars need to be focused on math and numeracy, and they totally get that. But with practice-based coaching, it's really important that coaches are kind of following the lead of teachers during the coach when they're coaching and what they're focusing on during the content. So, so Julie, I don't know if you want to talk a little bit about the difference between monitoring, which I know is, you know, we do have some directors on with us today that may be very interested in that, you know, really looking at the monitoring piece, so they could use it in that way. But I think that, Julie, you kind of used it as like, kind of see about ways to really coach and support the teachers in using that information. So Kelly and Julie, I don't know if you want to say anything else about that.
Sure. Well, I'll jump in if you don't mind. So the resources in GOLD will really help you as you coach and support teachers, and knowing that you know, their teachers are going to be implementing activities, and we know that they've already completed checkpoint data, and that really helps them be able to use that data to help individualize experiences. So knowing what those trends are is helpful to have that insight, whether it's you as a coach that are you know, coming in based on feedback from the teacher or from another specialist in the program that is saying, here's where our trends are, if you're, as you look at the data, but it's also being aware of how assessment really fits in and supports curriculum, and being aware how to use it as a tool, not necessarily as, you know, it is something that it is part of monitoring, that is true, and it feeds into, you know, when you think about GOLD checkpoints, that is a deliverable, you know, for Dell. But it also is something just to become more informed about, so that way as you're supporting a teacher with enhancing activities and enhancing their interactions with children, to be aware of what the trends are for the group of children that they're working with, so that way you can know of how to access and use these resources to support them, and really to build those child outcomes based on the implementation practices that are then connected to the classroom activities. And Kelly, please add anything if I have missed or you want to clarify anything.
No, I think you've got it.
All right. Any other questions that you see posted?
No, I'm not seeing any more right now.
Okay. So as you explore the GOLD resources and the teaching strategies, I do want to highlight that Teaching Strategies GOLD has a plethora of resources that are available online, and so again, going to the help library and doing keyword searches, exploring the printable, the professional development courses are all ways to just build your knowledge and resources of the tips and tricks to support teachers, you know, as you work with them. And if you run into any questions or issues that you're wanting to seek support from GOLD and you have wonders about, then please email, you know, send those to that del.wa@teachingstrategies.com, so that way we can, you have the tools available to support teachers. Thank you, everyone.
Julie, did you want to go over your assignment for the field?
Yes, I do. I took a pause there, didn't I? So you'll see that there's some assessment opportunity cards that are in the handout section. And one of the things we'd like to encourage you to do is to explore those and to be prepared to share back with us on the next coach webinar. So look at those, find opportunities that you could use those in your coaching work, and these are the questions to consider as you look at those resources, and then and the task for this next month. And so look at how you use those with teachers and how it could be, how these resources can be used within your coaching practices. And so those are the things that we'd like to encourage you as you explore those handouts for and report back in January.
And we look forward to hearing from coaches next month about what they've tried. So now we want to switch gears a bit and give coaches the opportunity for any general coaching questions. We did not receive any coaching questions in the ECAP inbox prior to this webinar, but we also had a holiday in there, and it's only been a couple of weeks. So we wanted to provide another opportunity if coaches have just some general coaching questions, things they're wondering about. Please go ahead and type them into the question box now, and we will work hard to respond to any questions you may have. Are any popping up, Sue?
So none are popping up, but so I think that if you could move to the next slide. I just wanted to, if you don't mind, I'll talk about this one really quick.
Go ahead.
Okay, sorry. So
Go ahead.
I'll talk briefly because I'm sure that I don't sound very good in people's ears right now, but I just wanted to say that it's very important to Kelly and I that we respond back to your questions. And so one of the things that we had from last month is a question from Ethna about, you know, how other coaches are perhaps using math in their professional development, and we had Emily Wilson-Edge who is willing to talk with us about her she is an early learning fellow and is working on this piece. Unfortunately, Emily does not have a voice right now, so she can't talk with us. So we'll move, hopefully, Emily to next month to share back with us on that. And then Kelly, if we can move to the next one. And yeah, and so this one, we also had coaches wanted to see, like, what are other coaches doing as examples of their quality improvement plan goals. And so we had requested coaches to send in their goals, and so that we could sample and have you guys share and talk about what you do and how you do it. I want to reiterate what Kelly said, which is it has been 2 weeks, I think, since our last webinar, so we're a little off kilter a bit. But we really think it's a great idea to have you share with one another how what your goals look like. So we're really hoping that you'll take the time to email us or email us that you'd like to share. We can figure out how we make that look in our next. We'll work with you to figure out how we'll share that. Okay, so I think that's really important. And then I want to say that it looks like we do have a couple of things that have come into the question box that I'm just seeing out of the corner of my eye. And so we did, okay, so this is a good question that we got from Katie Morehouse. So Julie, you're still on the line with us?
Yes.
Okay, so Katie's saying, yeah, oh, do you want to ask it?
You want me to ask it, Sue, so you don't have to?
Okay, that'd be cool.
So Katie is asking, what are your suggestions if we are contracted coaches and don't have access to TS Gold? What are some things they could do, Julie?
Oh, so one thing, you could ask the teacher, you know, just questions about the trends of what they're seeing in Gold. You can bring the teacher quick start guide just to have it as a handy tool in the event, like as you're talking with teachers, if they're sharing with you, like, you know, their familiarity, or if they're unsure about a specific report, like how to really check on those trends, then you can say, well, this is a resource that I know is available that you can download and access. You could also have those discussions, would you like to show me some sampling of your checkpoint, you know, like your assessment status report or some of the activities that you've implemented. So really letting the teacher steer those conversations and be open, and based on that based on that, follow their lead and chime in and give those strategies.
So Julie, Angelica has a question. She's a new coach, new to the field, and wondering where she can locate the assessment opportunity cards in the kit.
So when you say kit, I just want to clarify that I believe that when you say kit, you're referring to the Creative Curriculum kit that either is the 5th or 6th edition, and that is different from the assessment. They're definitely, the assessment opportunity cards are a free online resource that's available in TS Gold, and you can actually access those in the Help Find library, and with that you can look for those specifically, and I believe they're on, if I'm correct, on page 25, but I'll confirm that in the guide where it tells you the step-by-step ways that you can download and access those. So does that help answer your question?
Thanks, Julie. Yes, thank you. Perfect.
And just to clarify, there are a total of 10 cards available that are free, and there are in English and Spanish, and they can be printed out in color or black and white. And so those are free resources available on TS Gold.
Any more questions?
Yeah, there are. Katie asked the first question about coaches that are contracted and don't have access to Teaching Strategies Gold. And so she's saying, like, well, actually, there's people in the room with her that they're not trained in TS Gold. Is this something that these coaches should be trained in to support programs that use TS Gold?
Well, that's a good question. Being aware, as a coach, being knowledgeable of the tools and resources that teachers are using in ECAP classrooms is helpful, because then it allows you to really be informed. And I think your first start is if you don't have access, please go ahead and download that handout that's in the resource section of the webinar today, because that Teacher Quick Start Guide will give you a lot of detailed information about how teachers use that. And that is just one way that you can help support your learning as a new coach, or even support a teacher that is new in learning Gold. The other thing to be mindful of is keep a watch out for upcoming future reminders and links, newsletter notices from Dell. We've recently completed all of our fall TS Gold trainings, but we intend to have a few more in the spring, and so that is an opportunity for individuals to sign up and attend those. They are generally, we generally focus on having priority for lead teachers to attend those, but we are always open as spaces available to allow others to attend those trainings as well.
Great, and I just want to point out that perhaps not all coaches are receiving reminders and links, and so it's something that our ECAP contractors get. And so if you are a contracted coach and you have no idea what Julie's talking about, just make sure to talk to the ECAP director, and you can also sign up as well, right, Julie?
That's correct. You can, when you go to the ECAP contractors page, which is one of the reference websites that we have, then you can actually scroll down and go to ECAP reminders and links, and then you can actually select to receive that listserv. And connecting with your director is the first starting point, because they could easily forward a recent newsletter to you, and then you could subscribe to that as well.
That's great. Okay, and I just wanted to say that it looks like Sean has a question. Can I link the assessment opportunity card website? I wonder if sorry, Sean, I think that I'm wondering if what you're saying is that you're wondering if we can link the assessment opportunity card website, Earl, in in the chat box. But so I'm not exactly, so you might want to, if you could help me out with exactly what you're needing, I'd love to be able to help you. And then I also want to move on to Mary McBride is also saying that, you know, perhaps some of the reason that we didn't get a lot of coach response this time is because we did have to reschedule our webinar last month. It's normally on the first Friday of the month, and many coaches already had things going on when we rescheduled it. So, and we have not, sadly, posted the webinar from 2 weeks ago. So we're a little bit delayed. So yes, Mary, I think we all agree with you that that's probably why we didn't get a lot of response. And okay, Deborah, hi Deborah Shope. She says, will there be any teaching TS Gold Plus trainings coming up in the future? We have teachers that are asking for it.
There are 2 resources that are available currently for TS Gold, and those are both recorded webinars that are available for ECAP teachers. They can access the recorded Teaching Strategies Gold Plus webinar on their homepage. And so that is a resource that they would see and be able to access. And the additional one is the Dell recorded webinar on teaching strategies, and that's located on the ECAP contractors page, and it's in the Gold information section, and that is a recorded webinar as well. So those are the 2 primary resources that are available. In addition, for those in-person TS Gold trainings, as a trainer, I've incorporated at least an hour of content for Teaching Strategies Gold at the end, Gold Plus at the end of Gold training. So I intend to do that in the spring on those future trainings. But for right now, those are the main resources available for you.
Okay, and I just wanted to circle back to, sorry, hang on one second. Sorry about that. I just wanted to circle back to Sean. So Sean was just simply being very thoughtful of any coaches that may not know where to find the opportunity card, the assessment opportunity card. He's saying, like, if we could put a link to that in our chat box, that way new coaches don't have to go hunting around for it. So perhaps, Julie, I don't know if you have a link that you could put in our chat box or that you could put in the questions box so that everyone can see it.
So the link is not necessarily something that's available. So the way you access it, that is you actually go to the help library, and you open up the help library in Gold. So it's in the upper right section when a Gold user goes in, whether they're an administrator or a teacher. And you could type in the keyword search field, you can just type in cards, and it'll bring up a menu that allows you to access all of those assessment opportunity cards.
Okay.
Does that help, Sean?
So I'm not exactly sure that it has, but what I'd like to do is, why don't we
would you like me to get that web page up, and so that way individuals can see that?
Yeah, can you do that, Julie? I think that'd be really helpful, and I'll make you the presenter so that you can show your screen. Let me know when you're ready.
Okay. Okay. So are you able to see a teacher site for Gold Plus demo?
Yes.
Okay. So you'll see in the upper right is a help menu with that blue icon. So selecting on that, again, it'll pop up a window and you can search by keyword. And so I'm just entering cards, and I do the search. And you'll see here it has all the references for the assessment opportunity cards. This first one is includes that I'm highlighting, shows you that it's the 10 cards that really focus on the particular literacy and numeracy objectives. And then when you select that one with view, you'll see all the cards displayed. So I'm going to enlarge this. And so you'll see the cards that we have, such as the Shazam is one of the cards that's in the handouts that's downloaded in the webinar. And as you select that, it'll allow you to bring up that PDF. And again, what's really helpful about these cards, they really complement activities that teachers are doing. So you'll always see that focused objective on the upper right-hand corner, and the purpose of it explained, and simple steps on how to implement that activity, and ways to adapt the activity and assess all children will be in the far right. And then it includes the progressions, which is really helpful when a teacher is learning how to scaffold or enhancing the ways they individualize for children. And so again, it gives them the prompts of things to say and do to really help support children's learning of those skills. Any questions about how to access that? Was that helpful?
I found that very helpful, but I'm hoping that if coaches can let us know, that'd be awesome. And I just want to reiterate that Sean was being very thoughtful and really thinking about others, because Sean already knew all of this, and but just remembers what it was like navigating the TS Gold website for the first time and how overwhelming it can be, and it's sometimes hard to find things. So I really appreciate you taking the time to kind of take us there. And Angelica says that it was helpful.
Yep. Great. And you can see as you look at the help menu, there is so many resources that are available that teachers can access, as well as coaches that have access to Gold as a user. And so those are resources such as even the video tutorials that are in the lower left of that search. So
that's great.
So thank you.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say thank you, Sean, for allowing us to take that field trip through the help library. So.
No, I think it's. I mean, I think that I think it is really helpful, and Emily is also seeing that exactly. I think what you just are showing us now is that there's a lot of supports and webinars directly through the Teaching Strategies Gold website under the support tab that can be accessed without having to log in.
Yes, that's correct.
Is that what you're showing us on this right here?
No, this is a login screen right here. Under the support is actually, if I was to log off right now, which I'll do, and then I'll show you that what I believe that is being referenced is that support page. And so when you go to the support, which is on the left, then you can see the different topics. These are all free and available to Gold users or non-users. So these are free throughout the website. And you'll see that they have guidance on the Gold documentation app. They even have free support for Gold checkpoints. And then the Gold Plus users. And I know the question was asked earlier about Gold Plus training. This is the resources that when this hyperlink that takes you to this free support for Gold Plus, this is highlighted in the Teaching Strategies recorded webinar, as well as the Dell recorded webinar for Gold Plus, to really support teachers in accessing and using Gold Plus and getting the best benefits out of using this added feature in Gold.
That's really cool. Very helpful. So there is one last follow-up, and it's back to Deborah Shope, who had asked about the Teaching Strategies Gold Plus webinars, I believe, and she's asking, are those two webinars different in content?
Oh, so they so one is presented by the developers, which is teaching strategies and so the teaching strategies one is probably a little more polished. It has the same content. It guides you through how to access and use Gold Plus, and the secondary one is the Dell webinar that's available on the Dell website, and I know that individuals asked about how to access that before, and that is on the Dell website, scrolling down to the ECAP section, and the content is the same, but just the deliver of the information is different, okay? And you would scroll down to Gold, and then you can find that specific webinar here, the Dell Introduction to Gold Plus webinar. So one's located on the Gold users homepage, and the other one is the Introduction to Gold Plus that's on the ECAP contractors page.
Thank you so much, Julie. It looks like that answered Deborah's question. She says thanks. And I think that we can move on. We've cleared out the questions box for right now.
Okay. Well, do you want to take over the screen, Kelly?
Sure. So now we're going to talk about coach consultation.
Oh man, it's only during this webinar I realized like how much I'm making you guys listen to me. So I'll be brief. We talked about coach consultation last month, actually 2 weeks ago, and it's really cool that the University of Washington has opened up. They've got a lot more coaching staff available, and it's for all coaches working with any site in Early Achievers. So perhaps if there's a Head Start coach working with Head Start site that's in Early Achievers, they can have access to a coach consultant. And the great thing is you sign up on your own. You don't have to email or do anything like that. You just go on to log into Coaching Companion, and then once you're logged in, there's a drop down to go. So I can, oh no, I can't take us there because I'm not showing my screen, but oh, so sweet, Kelly, thanks for doing that. So you log into the Companion. So Kelly's doing that, and at the bottom band, it says Coach Consultation Scheduling. And then I just absolutely adore this platform, and it shows the coach and their area, their background. And then if you could just click on one of the coaches' faces, Kelly.
Sure.
We'll click on Shannon because we want some help from her. And you click the arrow to the right, the little, yep. And you look, well, of course, this is the one we choose. She's got no.
Oh, my.
Let's make a, let's try that again. Okay, so then we click on Casey. Yeah. And you'll see we want to meet with her today at 1 o'clock. And so we would just click on 1 o'clock and take it from there. So luckily we have someone who's going to take over the talking, and it is Molly from Aberdeen School District. And I am going to unmute you, Molly, because, oh, actually, Molly, I'm not going to unmute you just yet. I'm so sorry. Sorry to get you all amped up and then pull that away. I'm going to launch a poll. So let me
we have a poll. We want to know how many of you are using Coaching Companion. Are you using it now? Are you interested and you plan to use it? You're not quite sure what it is, or no, you don't want to use it at all?
Great. So it should be launched, and I'm really excited. I've got my fingers crossed that this number is going to increase. I think that Coaching Companion has really come a long way, and they've added a lot more resources, and they I love that they have their early achievers calendar in there so you can see when trainings are coming up for ERS and class. And so looks like we have about 71% have voted. And I'm going to close it. Hang on one second. Oh. Okay, so it looks like 27% are using it. That's great. We might have you even, we might reach out to some of you to see if you might want to talk on one of our webinars. And then no, 57% said no, but I plan on using it. So that's a pretty high percentage. And then 13% said no, not using it, don't plan to. And then 3% are like, what is Coaching Companion? And that is totally fine to not know what that is, because you are going to talk about it again this year. And we'll take some time, perhaps, Kelly, and in January to touch a little bit more on this, but it's a platform for coaches to have access to resources. They can now schedule coach consultation. They can upload videos of teacher observations and then have teachers look at them and comment and do coaching like in between coaching sessions, so it doesn't take place of in-person ones. But we do have a, what do we have, a webinar that's already recorded from last year where Soleil Boyd joined us and went over that, and that is posted on our DEL ECAP website. And we are, I don't know if it's already been done or not, but we're trying to get the topics of the webinars added to just, so it's not just October webinar 2015. We wanted to say what topic was covered so that you don't have to keep hunting around. So what I'd like
to I believe that one was the December, sorry for interrupting, but that was December 2015 that covered Coaching Companion.
Okay, great. So what I'd like to do now is Molly actually has signed up with a coach consultant, and I am going to scroll down here and I'm going to unmute Molly, and I'm just hoping this is going to work. Molly, I've unmuted you. Can you talk?
Good morning, Sue.
Oh, hello, Molly. Thank you so much for joining us. Can you tell us a little bit about your experience and doing this, what it was like for you to take us through that process?
First of all, my goodness, I hope you get some rest this weekend.
Oh, thank you.
So, I am a coach in the Grays Harbor area, and I do not have access to a child care aware coach. And even if you have access to a child care aware coach, I suggest you use this. I needed support with class. I have a site who is struggling with class, and Luis was so beneficial. And I want to say, to me, I really thought about this, I feel like it's cutting out the middleman. I feel like you can go on there and pick the person who has the knowledge for what you need. I signed up for a time that was convenient for me. I let him know what I wanted to talk about. He called right at that time. He was kind. He was considerate. He listened to my concerns. He supported me. He shared with me the Dimensions Guide. I have never even heard of that. So they have resources that we may not have access to. So from where I am as a coach, I think it's a great resource, and I suggest people to use it if you need help with the areas that they have expertise in.
Oh, Molly, thank you so much. I think that that's one of the most exciting things to me, is that coaches who are so busy and have so much on their plates that they can just simply, they don't have to do a lot of emailing back and forth. Oh, that time doesn't work for me. Does this time? It's simply, he's available, you're available, let's do it. So I love it.
I have to say, Sue, I think it's probably the most exciting resource. as a coach that we've had, and I appreciate what everybody's done. But when you email somebody a question and they don't know the answer, then they emailed somebody and they emailed somebody, and that's the way we did it. I think this is really a step in the right direction for all coaches, and also you as pre-K specialists, because you're not looking for those answers. We're able as coaches to go to those people who have the answers.
Fabulous. Thanks so much, Molly. I really appreciate you sharing with us. And perhaps and Molly, I'm going to go ahead and mute you back up. So if you keep talking, I won't be able to hear you anymore.
Okay, thanks, Sue.
Thanks so much. And I think that it would be wonderful to have more people share with us on how that works out. I really want UW to be able to continue doing it, so I want their coaches to be utilized. I don't want them sitting around twiddling their thumbs. I want them to have their day packed, filled with the things that they are experts at, and that's consulting coaches. It's really cool. So thanks again, Molly. Go ahead, Kelly.
Thanks, Sue. Let's see. So the next piece, we just wanted to review the supports available. So in addition to coach consultation, the UW Sequel focuses on coaching to fidelity the second Thursday of the month. This webinar is optional, and they happen monthly. CCA is focusing on the neuroscience of learning through March this year, and their webinars are the fourth Thursday of the month. The next one is December 22nd at 3 o'clock. And these are also optional for ECAP coaches. Our focus this year is numeracy and STEM, counting and cardinality, high five, math and ties. We'll be looking at all of these different areas over the course of the year, and our webinars are the first Friday of each month, and they are at 9 a.m. And these are the required webinars for coaches supporting ECAP classrooms. And so just wanted to be clear that the webinars that are put on by UW Sequel and Child Care Aware are optional for ECAP coaches, and the DEL webinar is the required webinar. We get lots of questions about those. So our next webinar.
Hey, I'm so sorry, Kelly. It's I just wanted to say, Annie had a question about how. Can you tell us how to sign up for the CCA webinars? And I think that the best way to do this is to send out an email to our coaches with a link on how to access their login.
Yes.
Does that sound okay?
I agree. I would be happy to do that. I do have a link for their catalog of webinars, and folks can register for individual webinars as they see appropriate. And I'm happy to share that information. So I'll follow up with an email to coaches with that link.
Thank you.
And so our next webinar is scheduled for Friday, January 6th, 2017, from 9 to 10:30. And we'll be looking a little deeper into high five mathematize as well as some other coaching topics. And again, like Sue said earlier, we would love to hear from you all about QIP goals you're working on with teachers at the sites, and we'd love to hear from you about more numeracy prompts and questions you have about those. So, let's see. The coaching toolkit is available on the DEL website. You can follow the link. We will send out a PDF version of this webinar. My apologies that that didn't go out ahead of time. I'll send that with the link to the other webinars as well. So on the coaching toolkit, you will find the coach orientation webinars, the monthly coach webinars from DEL, any webinar handouts, as well as the WELS user manual. So if you have any questions about WELS, that's the place to go. And all are available through the link listed here. Who to contact. So if you have questions for Teaching Strategies Gold, for support, or just general questions, you can email del.web law@teachingstrategies.com. For any policy-related questions or technical assistance, you would want to locate and contact the assigned pre-K specialist for the program you work for, and you can follow this link here and find out who that is. For WELS technical assistance, qris@del.wa.gov, and for any coaching-related questions, you can contact Sue Rose or myself. So unless there's any more questions, this concludes our webinar for December, and we thank you all so much for joining us. And for those of you that shared, we're really, really glad we had you on the webinar today. So everyone have a safe December, stay warm, and we'll see you next year in January.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.